if this guy is right that people are being just kind of giving the Niners the benefit of the doubt in this draft for no reason, and if you look at it, if you take the Niners out of it, Team A trades up all this way from 12 to 3, trades 3 first-round picks to take Trey Lance.
1 month before the draft.
1 month before the draft. I mean, if it wasn't John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, you'd say, what the hell is this team doing? So, which brings me to the question. I mean, we've talked about it, but I think it's interesting. There's interesting ways to spin off of this topic. Do you think that Trey Lance was the Niners guy from day one? And if not, what does that mean?
Okay. So I think there's a lot of levels and a lot of layers to this. And the Niners have they've contradicted themselves. Like, different people within the Niners have contradicted themselves in the media in the past few days to try and push this. The first thing I want to say is whoever they had drafted, whether it was Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Kellen Mond, Justin Fields, Kyle Trask, Davis Mills, Ian Book, I could keep going. Whoever they drafted was going to be their guy from day one. And that's
what they were going to say.
You cannot sell to anybody that, look, hey, we traded up to 3 so that we could start evaluating these quarterbacks, and we just wanted to be at 3 to pick one of these quarterbacks. No.
Can't say
you
that.
Trade to 3. You trade 2 first-round picks in the future because you have a guy in mind, okay?
Yes.
So that's one. So whoever they drafted, they had to say that was their guy. 2, I don't think you can say Trey Lance wasn't their guy from day one. I think it's clear. I don't think they're lying to us when they say we loved him since January. I 100% believe that. I think he was one of their guys.
I agree. That could pass a lie detector test, but it's kind of worded specifically.
And I that's what I think the thing is. Like, you look at, like, so I think there's so many layers to this, right? So Kyle has never mentioned Justin Fields, right? On the Rich, he told Peter King, I loved Mac Jones. He told Rich Eisen, I watched Mac Jones and Trey Lance, and I felt comfortable that I needed to get one of these 2 guys. And so they tried from 5, they tried to 4, and they ultimately landed at 3. And clearly they liked Trey Lance more than Mac Jones. But they also only decided they liked Trey Lance as their guy the Monday before the draft. If you remember the way John Lynch talked about it, he was 100% convinced with Trey Lance. And then Kyle finally called him and said, look, I think Trey Lance is the guy too. And he was just over the moon and happy. So they weren't 100%
and Kyle
there.
Conflicted at best on that Monday.
Right.
Something was off with Kyle on that Monday.
Right. And Jed. And
he had Jimmy in the dirt.
Right.
He had Jimmy in the dirt, and his other message was, leave me alone at soccer games, please. I'm just
that was funny. And then the other aspect of it is the Jim Trotter interview, where I thought Jed York was just doing fan service, saying that Mac Jones was never part of the conversation. It was Fields and Lance, and he even threw the Frank Gore angle because, I mean, if you're a Niners fan, how can you not love Frank Gore's? And they got Frank Gore's opinion, and Frank Gore thought Trey Lance was the best quarterback. Though I have a sneaking suspicion that even if they had drafted Kyle Trask, Frank Gore would have been in that article with Jim Trotter saying that he thought Kyle Trask was the best quarterback. So, nothing against Frank Gore. I just thought that particular Jim Trotter article was just for the fans and to try and convince
I agree.
them. But,
so hold on. So if we agree that it most likely wasn't their guy since day one, I mean, if Ryan Pace did that, traded up to a spot without a guy in mind, I mean, he'd be ridiculed.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. And I'm not saying that John Lynch deserves ridicule. I'm just saying Niner fans got to be aware of how far out on a limb this team really is right now.
Yeah.
They're doing things other teams wouldn't do.
Yeah, this was kind of crazy if you think about what they did. The only reason I think it's not just us, I think it's the entire NFL community has been so positive about this decision is, one, Trey Lance is a really special talent. Like, I mean, there are things that, like, some people like more, some people like less, but the one thing, and nobody will disagree on, is that Trey Lance has a ton of talent. And 2, it's that Kyle Shanahan has just never really had a quarterback that you can say, like, he picked, he wanted him, he did this, and he's 100% behind him. And people are just waiting for Kyle Shanahan's Drew Brees or Kyle Shanahan's Patrick Mahomes or Kyle Shanahan's Tom Brady. You know, the guy the great coach attaches himself to for years. And so everybody's saying he finally did that, and he went and got that guy in Trey Lance. So I think that's why people are okay with it. And I'm also okay with it for the same reasons, though I do have some reservations the more and more I think about it, about the trade up itself. But the big thing I think here is that, to just kind of sum up and put a bow on this topic, I don't think you can say Trey Lance wasn't their guy from day one. But can you say he definitively was? I'm not sure. And then especially when you hear Kyle talk about the fact on the Rich Eisen interview that, one day he loves a player, one day, then the next day he turns him on and he goes, I don't even know why I liked him the other day. So clearly this scouting is such a check and recheck process that, if he could have had his mind changing throughout the process, and he ultimately landed on Trey Lance that Monday before the draft. And then there's the other aspect of when Eric Branch asked the question, was your three guys when you traded up, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and Trey Lance, they didn't answer that question. Now, most GMs and coaches don't answer that question, but Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have volunteered those type of answers every single year after their drafts. In 2017, they volunteered that Myles Garrett, Solomon Thomas, and Reuben Foster were their top three players. In 2018, they volunteered that Mike McGlinchey, Derwin James, and Sony Michel were the three most impressive players they improved. In 2019, they told us that they were between Nick Bosa and Quinnen Williams. It came down to Nick Bosa and Quinnen Williams. In 2020, they volunteered that their top two receivers were CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Ayuk. So for them to not
what was Kyle's face? What was Kyle's face when Eric asked it? This was his face.
What?
Are you serious? Are you serious? Like, you really gonna ask me that question right now? Because that's what it looked like. Really? I thought we were boys. You're gonna do me like that right now? That's what it looked like. It did.
Yeah.
It was amazing. So yeah, I totally read it the same way. And the way to bring it back to the previous topic, that anonymous exec was like, man, the Niners, people are soft on them. From their perspective, how many execs around the league are thinking, man, if I had done this, I'd be laughed out of the league instantly. I don't have the credit. I don't have the credit stored up to pull off something like this.
It's
praised for it.
It's not that. It's not that. I think it's more, it's not even the move, right? You go up and make the move, and usually you're trying to tell the media, like, I get this entire game of playing the thing, but it's in your benefit to tell the media which guy you have in mind, because you want the media to think you traded up for a guy. The media was left scrambling, right? And they didn't know. And then they tell us they didn't know until the Monday of the week of the draft. They didn't make that decision. That's where I think when you just trade up for the spot, like, I remember the Jets when they traded the 3 second-round picks. Now, everybody praised it after the draft because everybody was just infatuated with Sam Darnold. But when they traded up, they were like, wow, you're really trading up because you're comfortable with 3 quarterbacks a month before the draft? Like, wow, They got killed. The Rams, if you remember, there was a little bit of is it Jared Goff? Is it Carson Wentz when they traded up to 1? A little bit of debate, and then people landed at Goff about a week after the trade was made. I think the initial expectation was that it was Wentz, and then people finally got to Goff. The entire media, people were like, wow, you traded up to 1 and you're not 100% sure whether it's Goff or Wentz. Like, that's a little crazy. So I do think that the other executives have the right to be salty. But honestly, sorry, guys, life isn't fair. And I'm a Niners fan, so Kyle Shanahan's the guy.
Just compare it real quick to the Jets. I mean, Robert Saleh and the Jets took Zach Wilson, and he's the guy. There's no question. There's no competition. Maybe they're wrong for doing that. Maybe they should have kept Sam Darnold and created a competition and had like a meritocracy. But that's not what they're doing. They have the conviction that you would expect the Niners would have. But that was their guy all along, apparently. They've inserted him in the starting lineup, and that's the way they're going. The Niners made up their mind 3 days before the draft. I've kept Jimmy Garoppolo and don't seem to know who their starting quarterback is going to be next year. Who's to say which way is right? It's just very different. It's interesting that Robert Saleh is not doing it the Niner way. He's got his own vision. And if he were on the Niners right now, he might disagree with the way things are going, but he wouldn't say
maybe. And I think the other thing to highlight is that, like, again, you can't say Trey Lance wasn't the guy from day one, and I don't think we'll ever find out this, and I hope we don't because I'm a Niners fan, and, like, if we find out the information and all the details about this draft, that means it went horribly wrong for the 49ers and Trey Lance bust. What we're hoping is the scenario that Trey Lance is this super-duper star, and the Jets start leaking, like, Michael Flohr was infatuated with Trey Lance, but Joe Douglas said it's Zach Wilson or nobody. Like, that's the situation we're hoping for. Right. But if we do find out the truth to this story, it'll be because Trey Lance doesn't pan out, and everybody's trying to put out their narrative of who they like as they prepare to find their next job.